When solving quadratic or rational inequalities, there's a little bit more to it. So first thing you're going to do is find the x's. That makes sense. And it's whatever zeroes out inside the parentheses. So x is equal to -5, x is equal to -1. That part's easy. The next key thing is you're going to put those two domain values, that's what those are, x is equal to -5, x is equal to -1, part of the domain. You put those domain values on a number line, and then you have intervals that are set up. And notice, because there's a solid line for that inequality, this will require square brackets at the interval numbers, at -5, -1. And then I recommend putting a box around those numbers to remind you, oh yeah, we don't use those numbers, but you pick numbers in the interval. So a number larger than -1 that's pretty easy to work with is 0. A number between -1 and -5 that's pretty easy to work with is -2. And I just say any number. You could choose -4, you could choose -1.75, and a number bigger than -1 could be 10, could be 1,000. I just pick 0 because it's easy. And a number that's easy to work with smaller than -5 is -10. And here's my recommendation. You pick those numbers, and then I'm going to, just in my head, -10 plus 5, -10 plus 5 is a negative number. -10 plus 1 is a negative number. Let me make this a little bit smaller so I can keep it. Well, what's a negative times a negative? A positive. Is a positive number greater than or equal to 0? That's true. So for this interval, these numbers up until -5 make this inequality a true statement. If you have a hard time doing what I just did, then go ahead and put -10 plus 5, which is -5, and then -10 plus 1, which is -9. Well, negative times a negative is, that's +45. Is +45 greater than or equal to 0? Yes, true. So then you just put true in that interval. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. Let me change the color. I'm going to put -2. Well, -2 plus 5 is a positive number. -2 plus 1 is a negative number. A positive times a negative is a negative number. Is a negative number greater than or equal to 0? Well, that would be false. And then I'm going to try 0. 0 plus 5 is a positive number. 0 plus 1 is a positive number. A positive times a positive is a positive number, and a positive number is greater than or equal to 0. So we have the interval notation would then be this interval right here. Let me clarify this. This interval right through here, even though I chose -10, it's all of the numbers less than -5. So we're going clear out to -infinity. So -infinity up to -5, square bracket because of that solid line right there. Then I'm going to put a union symbol, and then square bracket at -1. And then this interval over here, it doesn't stop at 0. It heads clear to positive infinity. And now you have interval notation, just like that. All right, I'm going to erase this. If you need to pause this and write that down, that's fine. I'm going to erase it because now we're going to do the one just below here. All right, I'm going to move that out of the way. Well, now we have a quadratic that isn't factored, so we're going to factor it first. What are factors of +28 that add up to negative? Well, a negative times a negative is positive, and a negative plus. So factors of 28, well, negative 7 times negative 4 equal positive 28, and negative 7 times x and negative 4 times x add up to negative 11x. So then the opposite of negative 7 and negative x is 7 and 4. You mark the number line. So positive 4, positive 7. This time we put open parentheses because we have a less than. There is no solid line, so all of the brackets will be open. And you go ahead and start the process again. Instead of, you can put the interval values into this equation using your calculator, or you can put it in here. So I'm going to do this again. If I put 0, 0 subtract 7 is a negative number, 0 subtract 4 is a negative, and negative times negative is positive. Is a positive number less than 0? False. Then I'm going to put 5 in there. 5 subtract 7 is negative. 5 subtract 4 is positive. A negative times a positive is negative. Is a negative number less than 0? That's true. And then when we put 10 in there, 10 subtract 7 is positive. 10 subtract 4 is positive. Is a positive number less than 0? That would be false. So the only interval that works, and look at, we have it nicely laid out, it is 4, 7. And this right here is the solution set. All right, one more real quickly. Now we've got this rational inequality. Here is something very, very important. For the denominator value, even when there's a solid bar, whatever zeroes out the denominator will always have an open bracket, because if you zero out a denominator, remember, something divided by 0, you get a calculator error. That means there's a vertical asymptote. And remember, lines get really, really close to vertical asymptote, but never touch it. And so we can't have a solid bracket for any number that zeroes out the denominator. So I just wanted to add that. So first thing you do is you find what zeroes out the numerator. Well, I locked that, so I will do this. X is equal to 3. And you find what zeroes out the denominator. X is equal to 6. And you go ahead and set up the number line. Now this is solid right here. Only the numerator gets the solid bracket. The denominator gets hollow brackets. So right there at positive 3, we can put square brackets in both directions. And at 6, we can put hollow brackets. And then this heads off to negative infinity. This heads off to positive infinity. And now I'm going to pick our interval values. A number that's easy to work with. Less than 3 is 0. Between 3 and 6, I will choose 5. And greater than 6, I will choose 10. This is a little bit trickier because we have a fraction bar. So it's something divides something greater than or equal to 0. Okay, so when we put 0 in here, 0 subtract 3 is negative. 0 subtract 3 is negative. A negative divided by negative is a positive number. So this interval is true. That works. Now we're going to put 5. 5 subtract 3 is positive. 5 subtract 6 is negative. Positive number divided by negative number is a negative number. Is a negative number greater than or equal to 0? That's false. And then I'm going to put 10 up there. 10 into the rational inequality. 10 subtract 3 is positive. 10 subtract 6 is positive. A positive number is, positive numbers are greater than or equal to 0. So we've got another true. So in this case, we have negative infinity up until 3 square bracket, because of the inequality sign, union symbol, but because 6 zeros out the denominator, it will be an open bracket 6, comma, positive infinity. Just like that. All right, that's it for review on how to solve quadratic and rational inequalities.